Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm very excited here to introduce Nerissa Street. She is quite the superstar in all she does. She has a current business, which is the founder of Black Women Podcasting, which is a .com that she is exploding with, and I'll let her tell you about that. She's been an award-winning interactive communications teacher at Broward Public Schools. She got her AA at Broward College in Business and went on to get her BA in theater and communications concentration in the Sigma Yellow Belt from Nova. And she has been very instrumental in our alumni program. She led our very first in-person event, which was self-care for leaders, where we all turned off our phones and had a fantastic time. And our first webinar, The Power of Positivity, was also led by her. So a true leader and a true patriot of Broward College alumni. Nerissa, why don't you tell us about what you're doing now?
So first of all, thank you so much, Jill, for inviting me to be in this platform. I think this is our third go around, and I'm really excited that Broward College and the Alumni and Friends Association keep inviting me back. I hope it means that we're doing good things together. So there are a few things that I'm excited about now, but the big thing is that I'm the founder of a website called Black Women Podcasting, which is kind of the culmination of my work as somebody helping people to amplify their voices. I'm also working really in an industry that has been transformed over the past few years, and that's education, and now, of course, online education. And I've launched an initiative called From High Touch to High Tech, and really about helping people whose industry has been a very on hands-on, in your face, one-to-one, and looking to help people like that who are used to being able to touch people in person and transform people in person to now having the ability to have the same impact, but through technology. So that's the work that I'm excited about right now. And of course, always somebody who's in love with teaching and filmmaking. So working on a couple of projects as far as film is concerned too. So thank
Great.
you.
That sounds like so much. So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you how we got so lucky to have you as a BC alumna. Where did you go to high school, and then how did you land at Broward College?
So it's a very circuitous route, I would say. I went to high school at Coral Gables Senior High, and I went there as part of the magnet program. So the International Baccalaureate Magnet program, I think it was just 3 years old by the time that I got there. So it was still kind of an experiment. And it was the first magnet school in Dade County, right? And so I was always a very shy student. And so I barely made it through the program because of my shyness. High school is a very socially rich experience. And if you are socially awkward, as I was, and sometimes still am, it was hard. So when I graduated, and of course, being in an IB gifted kid kind of thing, the trajectory was college and of course taking on the world. And there was no way. Like, so I went my first college, and I'll say my first, this is a great story. My first college, I went there, and the first semester I failed, like torpedoed. And just had it in my mind that I'm stupid. Like, they may have thought I was a gifted kid, but I just can't handle college. I was telling myself that story for several years. And in fact, I kept trying to go back to college. Like, I went from the first college, then I went to, I think Miami-Dade was the next one. Miami-Dade did pretty well. Like, I did one semester, and I thought, okay, maybe I can go move on to university. And then I went to Florida International University. And interestingly enough, my passion took me out of FIU. Failed again. Completely failed again. But I failed because I was immersed in something that I love to do, which was gathering people to have an educational experience. So what was going on is that I was in the wrong major. right? And so I just got completely distracted. Then went off to the working world and said, college is, I'm just one of those people, college is not for. And something just kept nagging at me, right? And so one of my friends said, yeah, just take a couple classes at Broward College. And the professors at Broward College were working people, right? Like, and I mean that in that they understood that the students at Broward College were also people who were in the world, who were working, and who were doing college as a way to lift themselves forward and move themselves forward. And they were the conversations I had with my professors about where I had come from and what was in my mind made me understand that I had been in the wrong trajectory, right? And so inch by inch, class by class, I got my AA. And it was when I got my AA that I understood, okay, well, you know what? I am in the right place. Like, education is something that I'm passionate about. I love learning. And the professors that were there encouraged that, right? And so I was able to balance work and balance college. And it was that AA that from BC that really helped me move forward, to my next degree, which, Dean's List, scholarship, the whole thing, back on the track that I had. So I really am appreciative of BC and for the professors and for just the environment that was created there that made me understand that I was on the right track. I just, I guess I was in the wrong lane.
That's a great analogy. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for that. Tell us, like, what advice were you given back in the time that you were kind of getting started?
So the advice that I was given, there were a couple of things that I was given that stuck with me. And one of the biggest pieces of advice that I was given that really continued to stick with me was try it. And I mean, that sounds relatively simple, but I think there are a lot of places where you don't feel that you can take risks, and try it is an open door, allowing you to put your foot in the water, toe in the water kind of thing, but try it. And it also allows you to see whether or not something fits without you having to be committed to it, right? And so as somebody who has always been a good girl, right, you want to do something really well, and you want to do it, which is why the whole college thing was just blowing my head out of the water. You want to do things well, right? And so the thought that I could just try something, right, and see if it fit gave me a lot of freedom. So that was a big thing.
Good. That sounds great. That's
Yeah.
a great line. How about a favorite quote that you might have? Do you have a favorite quote?
I do, actually. And so because I am an author and a speaker, I gather quotes. And someone who has been in my audience was like, you say some of the best gems, right? And so something that came out of one of my talks is a quote that I've been working with personally, and I hope my audience works with as well. And the quote is, your heartbreak is a well-told story, right? So I work a lot with telling story and helping people tell their story in the right way and tell their story in a way that impacts their audience. But I think we don't realize how much our own story, the story we tell ourselves about ourselves, impacts us, right? So the ways in which we allow heartbreak to stop us from being open again and being vulnerable again and trying it, right? We do that because we've wrapped a lot of meaning around the reason why something didn't work. And the heartbreak can be personal, it could be relational, it could be social, it could be work, could be financial. But this thing where I tried something and I failed at it, if I were to think about the story that I was telling myself about college, and so just shifting that story and having the tools, and this is the one thing that I love, being able to give people the tools to change their heartbreak story.
So can you say the quote one more time for us?
Sure. Your heartbreak is a well-told story.
Okay.
Right. So what I love doing now is telling people, giving people the tools to change that story, right? And
Good.
and see what other possibilities are there for you. And it takes some time,
Right.
and there's of course grief wrapped up in it and things like that. And we work with grief and we work with mourning and all those other kind of things. Yeah, changing the story will change your life.
Yes, yes. So tell us, do you have any heroes that you look up to?
It's interesting you asked the question on exactly this day. So my biggest hero is my mom, because she's really worked through a lot in her own life, and is very, very humble about it and very, very matter of fact about it. But another one of my heroes, and it's actually her birthday today, is the Reverend Dr. Helen Carey. And Helen Carey is one of the first people that I met. She's what is called a teacher of teachers, right? And she's one of the first people who I met who let me understand what teaching and what transforming people in groups can actually look like, right? And she demonstrated it, like right in front of us when we were taking classes with her. The way that she approached the class before she opened her mouth shifted us, right? So to be able to create an environment that is shifting and transforming people before you even open your mouth.
Is that body language or what is
It's there's a, like I said, there's a whole line of work that she taught me, and then that I,
right.
have done further research in. I'm grateful to be able to carry forward into a new generation of people who want to amplify their voice and have a message that will really impact and change the community, not just give people information.
Right.
So a lot of people, they do speaking and education, and they feel really satisfied with themselves because they gave you a lot of information. Like, I can get information all day long.
Yes, you imparted that upon us when we had our event, and there were
Yeah.
CEOs in the room, and there was no turning back. You asked everyone to turn off their cell phones and live in that uncomfortable space of having your cell phone off. And I will never forget that, watching the room and that feeling in the room that everybody was very uncomfortable, but it was transforming about self-care, how you do need to disconnect and turn off. And I've since used that example. It's really powerful.
Wow.
So thank you for that. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome. But yeah,
Yes.
it's things like that, and it's being able to find and not be afraid of the transformative moment that is right there in front of you as a leader of people who have taken their time. You all took your time to listen to me speak, and so I, as somebody who has the gift of your attention,
Right.
can do no more than be a 200% in there, looking for every transformative moment. And so it's crafting that, and it's finding that, and it's not just doing it for gimmicks, because there's a lot of other people who do speaking, and there's a lot of gimmicks. There's a lot of flash and whatever. And you'll also notice in that presentation, there wasn't much gimmick, but there was transformation.
And we had to
So
write things down, and it was very different than just somebody speaking at you. They were speaking
Right.
with you. And it was
Right.
like taking a cooking class where there was a person making one cake versus each of us had our own batter in front of us.
Absolutely.
Analogy I come to. So we thank you so much for that.
You're
So
welcome.
what do you see for the future? I know that the world has shifted on a paradigm. You're a tremendous leader in this new space of, how do you put it, about the high tech?
Yeah, high touch to high tech. Yeah.
Yeah. So just tell us about what you see for the future, and any words of wisdom you want to share that students and potential people that might want to come to Broward College will be watching. So what are your words of wisdom you want to share about the future?
I would love for people to begin to trust themselves more and trust the joy that is in their hearts. So one of the things that I launched this product line called My Joy is Valuable, right? And I think a lot of good people, and I will say myself, and I know you're a very good person, a lot of people who define themselves as good girls and good guys, they are about nurturing others before they nurture themselves. The problem with that is when the good people burn out, the people whose intentions are not so good are still going and are still impacting the world, and so it's really a matter of looking for the things that give you joy and trusting those things, and trusting that when you are fully immersed in your joy, you will very naturally care for the people around you, right? And so that's part of leadership. Part of leadership is trusting the thing that's urging you forward. And whatever the frivolous thing is, it's not so frivolous if it gives back to you. So I think that's my biggest word of wisdom. And the second thing is trust your story. Get training to help you tell the story in a way that will impact others and not harm you, right? So that's another thing as well. Those of us who are good people and have something that happened to us and want to change the world, a lot of times we tell our story too quickly, right? And so learning what portions of your story to tell, what portions of your story to keep for yourself, learning the way that's best for you. We spoke about it before. I am not Toastmasters, right? So Toastmasters didn't work for me. And not to say that it doesn't work for other people. Let me be very clear about that. But understanding that there's certain ways that you can share yourself and share your story and transform people and still be safe and still not have to light yourself on fire so that other people can be warm.
Okay,
right?
and then
So
lastly, education piece. So how did you go from basically not liking school, changing schools, to all of a sudden liking Broward College? How did you do it? What was your steps to get to the degree level that you did?
sure. It's not that I didn't like school, it's that because of what I had witnessed for myself, like I failed. So I thought school wasn't for me. And so this story being told is much different. Like, it's this thing that you love. I love learning. And so I suck at demonstrating my learning. What ended up happening again, there was an urge in me that said, just try it again. You can do it. Try it again. And because I trusted that, I was then able to hear the wisdom that the professors had for me, because people are helping you all the time. You are getting the advice you need all the time. Are you open to it? You're not going to be open to it if you don't trust yourself. That was it.
Thank you for that. Yes, because that degree has led you to teach so many in the school system and everything else that you've done. So we are appreciative of you. We hope that you have a wonderful day. We're going to look forward to following your stellar career. And thank you so much for the interview. Thank you.
You're welcome.